And guys, listen, thanks for taking the time to speak to me. First things first, you having a good day?
Absolutely, mate. Yeah. I want to say thank you.
Always.
Thank you for the wicked review, by the way.
No worries, no worries. It's always a pleasure to hear something you love. You love music, so it's awesome to be able to praise an album that just hits right with you.
No, thank you,
man,
mate.
I feel that. Thank you very much.
Really enjoyed that one.
Aside from the day, then 2022 overall for InVisions, good start to the year. Obviously, the focus has been on the new album, but aside from that, been pretty solid.
Yeah, busy, really busy. Like I think this album's definitely changed a lot of things for us and made us kind of like a lot more go with the band, which is well good. Super exciting. Yeah, it's only what are we in second month of the year, already dropped a fire album. So far, it's looking good.
Interesting. What do you say this album has changed a lot? What specific things on the top of your head do you go, okay, yep, that's already quite significantly different for us as you say, as we're into February?
Oh, I mean, to be fair, just the attention that we're getting from the album, like the positive feedback as well. We're getting a lot of love, which is, we've always received a decent amount of attention for records and stuff, but like the overwhelming kind of status of this kind of thing is it's been really, really positive, like a lot, more so than previous records, which is super exciting.
Yeah, the dust has barely settled on this. We're 4 days as of the time of recording since release. So when you say like reception wise, are you trawling the comment sections on your social media? Are you reading up and hearing what fans are actually saying? Because reviews are one thing, one thing, but that actual social media, YouTube comments situation could sometimes be quite different.
Well, we're always looking through absolutely everything. I think Lucas, when we release an album, actually doesn't leave that chair he sat on for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's mad.
It's one of those things that it's really interesting for us to look at the reception we get, the comments we're getting, the reaction videos, people's genuine reactions and whatnot. It's all really interesting. It's all part of the fun of releasing an album for us. So yeah, we're very much aware and present on the comments and things that are coming out.
You mentioned reaction videos. Do you like them? Because some artists can be hit and miss about those style of YouTube videos.
Oh, we dig them. They're awesome. Like particularly releasing music when there's not really a lot of shows going on, everyone's sat at home, for an artist to be able to connect with a fan and like see someone's first time listening to something, is that authentic moment is great. Like, it's the same thing as like when we first listen to a song, like the impact we get from moments in songs, like to see someone share that same feeling and like, unadulterated way. It's not just someone going, "Oh yeah," like performing to a camera. To see someone genuinely be like, "Oh shit!" Like, yeah, it's great. It's awesome. To get us just as excited as it gets them, which is mint.
Oh, that's awesome, man. So Deadlock, that's the new album. Third album, InVisions. Of course, it's not about the pandemic specifically, but it was conceived and created over this lockdown pandemic period. The question I have for you: would it exist as it is if COVID had never happened?
I don't think it would,
Yeah, I don't. I think the thing with COVID is that it's released the pressure of having to do it in a certain time frame. So it's got a lot more attention than it probably would have if COVID wasn't here. Because when you're touring and you constantly want to be releasing new things so that when you're playing shows, there's the reason for somebody to come to your show again. And then, so it's just given it a lot more time and it's allowed us to have a lot more patience with it.
Yeah. A lot more attention to detail, like you said. And like, I actually saw like an Instagram story that I posted of like one of the first riffs for this record. This was like last week. But it told me, on like a time hop thing, it was 132 weeks ago. That's like over 3 years, just about 3 years of like the first riff was written. So like if it wasn't for COVID, the album probably would have been out last year. Yeah, probably last year. We would have, not this particular album, it would have been a completely different record. We would have, not sat there and, when you're doing it in a different situation where you've got to kind of keep at it, you've got less time. Our focus was just, let's write an amazing record, let's do that. You know, we could let everything kind of drop down a bit and not be on socials, not have to do anything, because everyone else is in the same boat. You're not going to get left behind. You're not going to, you know, it's not that it's a competition or anything like that, but, you know, things are always moving. And if you're kind of out of the conversation, you can get left behind, whereas everyone was in the same boat.
Well, it's interesting. You say it's not a competition, but those early days with lockdowns and stuff, and people trying to find their feet and not really being sure about what would happen with live shows and stuff like that. There was very tentative steps across from the biggest band to the smallest band in the world on sort of social media, live streams, things like that, about what to do. And obviously, by the time we kind of reached 2 years in, everyone's got a bit stronger about it. We were seeing full production live stream like that. Is that aspect of things, did that worry you? Did you look at it and think, oh my God, there's so much of this is going on, there's so much music being written during this period that it could effectively bury our music?
No,
probably not. No, like, I think the thing for us is you're so focused on something that, like, you know, we were already kind of started writing. We released Cold Blooded just as pandemics kind of happened, and that song was, you know, blowing up for us anyway. We were getting more attention than we ever had when the pandemic first started because of that song. And all the while we're sat there writing the new record and using that as the standard of bar to be like, if it's not as good as this song, it's not on the record. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of, like, we talked about doing, you know, full production live streams and stuff, particularly when we went into creating all of, like, the videos and stuff for this album campaign. But, you know, as the events progressed, you know, the shows started to come back, and, you know, for us, the actual budget you need to put in to do these full production live videos is insane. You bring so many different people together to do it. The return on it can be incredible as well. But it's, you know, for us, ultimately, we want to be out playing the shows. So as soon as the shows kind of came back around, it was like, this is what we're going to do. Now is the time to release this. You know, if anything does happen and we can't do anything again, then, you know, at that point, we'll probably look at different avenues. But, you know, I think we kind of got lucky with the time we released because, you know, things are seeming to be a bit more normal.
Seemingly, we can only hope it continues. Although it seems like every day or two, another tour gets postponed and pushed back.
Yeah,
I think it was like an hour ago, the Gojira tour has now been pushed back to February 2023.
Oh, man.
Like,
I think the issue I think with a lot of them is because obviously Europe not quite as like open as we are. So right now, the UK and America are probably the two most horrible places in the world. Because the restrictions are not as like heavy.
Yeah.
And bands, when they're coming through America, they're not wanting to usually just come to the UK. They want to do UK and Europe. But I think we'll see some really cool tours over the next year from American bands who come just to the UK. I think what they're going to start doing is they'll, you know, maybe go a bit more expansive with UK tours, maybe go a bit harder because, you know, people from Europe can fly into the UK, watch a tour, and then, you know, go home. But I think, you know, I think it might actually be something that really helps the music industry in the UK because at the end of the day, we're now the access point for people who want to see European bands.
And it's weird to talk about any benefit of the past 2 years, but one of the other benefits I think is worth knowing is only that with a focus being on just the UK only, it's meant a lot more focus on the UK scene as well. Have you guys felt that benefit?
It's a bit hard to describe in it really. I think like we get more attention from the US than we do anywhere else in the world, which is, I mean, it's weird, but it also makes sense. I'd say our sound is quite, you know, a US metalcore sound. But yeah, there's definitely been a lot of like UK love. There's been a lot of bands who have emerged and like risen through the ranks through like releasing through the pandemic. I think it's incredible. It's nice to see some of these bands that, you know, obviously with Download Pile and stuff like that, a lot of bands getting opportunities to, you know, open, you know, like gatekeepers to like open these doors for these bands, to, like give them opportunities to excel in their career. So I think a lot of UK bands have come out of the pandemic in a better position than they were before.
I think it's the case because a lot of people have had more time on social media than they probably ever have. So they're diving in deeper than they would into anything else. So they're discovering these new musicians, bands or whatever. So that they're all getting like a surge, and it's really good to see.
One of the few benefits of social media there, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, massively.
Do you think Deadlock reflects the general mentality that has existed sort of over the past 2 years, not necessarily worldwide, but more within InVisions? And if so, do you think then that this album is going to always be quite a notable stop on the road for you?
Oh, 100%. Like, this album's our album, whether someone else relates to it or not. This is a moment in time. Like, our group chats were getting pretty bleak, over the 2 years, because he's just a huge part of your life. And yeah, as I'm sure probably most metal fans will attest to, metal music in particular, that community, it defines your personality. Like that, if you, a lot of time, if you're a metalhead, it's a huge part of you. And having that kind of like live community, that live show thing taken away for us, just kind of put us in this hole. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that this has allowed us to capture all that negative bullshit, put it in a box, and be like, yeah, cool, that's this moment in time for us. Which I think it also is a great learning curve, because it's not something we've ever really done with a record. That's opened up a new avenue of like, maybe that's how we can kind of go moving forward.
But were you conscious as well then, when I guess it came to almost writing the record and how that came about, that ultimately you don't want the album to be, oh, if we play that, say in 10 years time, we decide to do a 10-year anniversary album show or whatever, and it sound like it belonged only in that period, 10 years down the line when COVID's a forgotten thing and that kind of thing, the pandemic, surely were you conscious of the fact that you wanted it to still fit in InVisions' catalogue?
I still feel like it would, because of how it is written. It's not, when you listen to it, it's not solely like basing itself to now.
Yeah,
it's wrote in like a vague way that if you listen to it in 10 years time, you'll be able to find something that's happened in your life to still attach to it, regardless of it was wrote like 10 years ago. So I still feel that it will still be a relevant album then.
Massively. Music's like, all music's just an access point for you to paint your own picture with, isn't it? Like that kind of thing. It's like that when I listen to a song and then Ben listens to a song, it'll be our song, it'll be the same song, but what we take away from it, how it makes us feel, will be completely different. We'll have our own, trigger moments that'll access different kind of parts of our emotion, I think. But obviously there's a lot of doubt, there's a lot of frustration and a lot of kind of like struggle in this album, but it's personal human struggle. It's not COVID struggle. Do you know what I mean? It's like us trying to figure out our place within this struggle, and that's unfortunately, no matter if it's COVID or the next bag of bullshit, it's all going to be there's going to be something going on.
Yeah, I think that's super important as well, because I think the expectation is, if they don't know much about the album, someone going into it, is that the frustration and the themes that might exist around certain tracks will be based on the last 2 years. But the simple fact of it is 20, 30, 40 years down the line, when you're 15 albums deep, this one will still, the themes will still be as relevant then, because these are human problems.
Exactly. Yeah, man. I don't think they'll go away. I mean, at the end of the day, like, these are kind of problems that are presenting themselves, or maybe because we've had this time to sit at home, that as human beings, we've slowed down. And when you slow down, you start to notice things about your own personality and like your own mentality that maybe you haven't addressed, and maybe that you don't kind of deal with on a daily basis. And this is kind of the starting point of being like, do you know what, maybe that's not okay, and maybe I need to actually look at that a bit deeper.
The expression that you portray throughout this album, is this something that's getting easier for you to do? That the kind of laying yourselves bare, talking about these difficult themes, stuff that particularly in the metal and rock world is becoming a bit more open and people are talking about. How do you guys, are you comfortable talking about it now?
Yeah, I feel like it is good. And then if we can set any form of an example for somebody to talk out, and then that's also good. So if people fans of musicians, if they're doing something, they tend to look up to them. So then they'll be like, oh, I feel like I can now go and talk out about it. So that's also like the push you need, sort of. So no, I feel like it's a really good, and for me, easy thing to portray.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? Because end of the day, music is a form of like media or creative like stuff. It's meant to be escapism to a degree, so there's always going to be that thing. You don't want it to necessarily always be too far down the rabbit hole, otherwise you're not going to maybe you'll go for it. That's like specific reason, because that helps you deal with that, but you won't maybe be able to find some solace in it as well. But I think, it definitely, it's, when we write songs, we don't write a song because we think this is going to help someone else, this is going to do something to someone else. It's us trying to figure out our own shit, and like if that helps someone else, then mint. And I think that's the thing, like, when we're sat writing tunes, we're not sitting there thinking, going, will the fans like this, will this do this? Like, we're just sitting there writing what we feel, what we want to hear. And I think, that's a good thing. I think if you start necessarily writing to please, that's not really going to be like an honest expression. So
well, then it loses all its trying to find a word I'm trying to think of. It's like when you're writing something for yourself or something that you've been through, you can really put the emotion into it. So, but if you're writing for somebody else,
disingenuous.
Yeah, and it's like it loses its authenticity, and then it's not going to be 100% you, if you know what I mean. And you can't put your emotion into it. You can't put how, like, it just won't have the same personality as if you're writing from where you've been or what you're doing or what you're going through, what you've been through or whatever. So I feel like writing for yourself from your own perspective for people to attach to, if they can, then yeah, brilliant, amazing. They can listen to your story. They might learn something from it. They might grow from it. Perfect. But as soon as you're writing for somebody else or whatever, I just think it loses its authenticity and people will struggle to latch onto it.
I think it's super important that people, at least from my perspective, is buzzwords as they are, believable and relatable music coming from this album. But the other one that really struck me is the word passion. And it's such a passionate display from you guys on this record, which is really interesting because I guess maybe it's my issue more than anything else. But your process to getting this album out has been changed, a forced change regardless. So I guess almost how easy was it for you to infuse your passion, the InVisions passion, into this record as compared to the previous two?
I think it's just a huge change. I feel like the previous records would be really good, but this is the first time we've kind of like put ourselves out there a bit more and like, laid it on the line. And it's like, for us, like, Ben's been in bands for years. I was actually talking about this the other day. I was playing guitar when I was 10 years old. I'm 26 now. Like, everything I've done in my life has led to this record. I mean, every time I've learned a trick from someone else recording, every time I've learned a riff, like that's, it's all a journey, it's all accumulation. And each album is meant to be the best presentation of who you are as a musician and also who you are as a person. I think, obviously there's been a forced change, but it's not forced. It's a natural progression. That's what I mean. It's an evolution that kind of wasn't necessarily discussed. It was just something that happened for us all. And like you say, the passion, capturing the passion in that. I think, with the lockdowns and not having, live music and stuff, that really put into perspective that, me and Ben are 26, you're 27 now, the other lads are 30. We need this band to happen because this is what we want to do for our career. Right. If it doesn't happen, what are we going to do? There's one thing we're good at, and that is being in this band. And that's where the passion comes into it. That's where Deadlock is. If we haven't got that, we've got to give it every ounce, every fiber. And that's, like you say, that's what gave this album a real passion, because it's our album about our struggle to try and, do something bigger than just be four guys who are going to end up working jobs they hate.
I think there's no question, particularly how you talk and describe your position as of right now, that you've ridden this wave the last 2 years and up to this point and come out stronger than ever, it seems.
I hope so. It feels 100%. That way.
Definitely, because it gives you more time to think. The break that we've had. I mean, we were riding the wave of playing shows and we were on it. We were loving it, and then as soon as that's taken away from you, it's either gonna make or break you, innit? Because you did see, sadly, a lot of bands split up over the pandemic and whatnot. And for us, I feel like it was just it was more of a drive, and it was
polar opposite, wasn't it?
Yeah, a drive and like a pushing passion, because we missed it so much, and it was just something that we needed rather than needed like sooner, rather than thinking, man, this isn't for me. We were just like, no, this we need it back ASAP.
This has been all over an incredibly short amount of time, though, in the InVisions life, which I think would really surprise people. Speaking to you here, you'd take a guess and say, oh, you're 15 years in. But of course, that's not the case. When you reflect on what was effectively 6 years ago, how far removed do you feel from yourselves then to yourselves now?
Really far, to be fair. Like,
Yeah, massively.
That first record, we released it in 2017, but we actually, like, some of those songs were demos that I'd had from when I was like 16 years old. There was other songs on there that we wrote in 2015. Yeah, so the band was, before we actually launched in 2016, we were already working on the album. So yeah, that's pushing on like 8 years. And yeah, I think particularly as well with the whole pandemic, the pandemic has aged people rapidly, and I feel like it's definitely done that to me. Creature comforts now, man, honestly. But yeah, shock to the system. We went back on tour, and it's like back to sleeping in a van, and like, you know, you're so used to your radiators and your comfy beds, and your back not hurting.
No,
But,
mate, my back hurts all the time.
It's because you're the tallest human in the entire world. You see him trying to sleep sideways in a transit van. It's it's a recipe for disaster.
It is, but it's fun.
But yeah,
how was that December run?
it was wicked, but we were ducking and diving COVID coughs all over the place.
I got really ill.
Yeah, to be fair, we also like had flu in like the team, and it was just rough.
I'm glad you got through it.
Yeah, it was weird because like obviously every morning we're there doing COVID tests, and I imagine if anybody walked past the van in the morning, it was like a soundboard of a disaster. It was awful.
Oh yeah, it was pretty grey.
It's what we have to do. It's you adapt and overcome it, and it's just if we have to do a COVID test to play a show, I am more than happy to do that.
Yeah, it's part and parcel of it now. Of course, you've got some album release shows coming up in mid-April. Leeds and London.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you? It seems like quite a distance away from the album actually released. It's like what, 2 months? I have to ask: is that on purpose, or is it because of a problem we're seeing quite a lot, which is it's difficult now to find venues and dates because of the mammoth amount of delays to the shows of 2 years?
Bit of both.
Yeah.
Actually, like, you know, obviously because now the UK is opened up, everyone's like quick book. So there's been a bit of a delay in terms of that, but I think it's probably working in our favor because, you know, people have more time to sit with the record. You know, but yeah, it was a bit of delays, and it's a bit of a situation where as well, like, we didn't want to book it necessarily for February because around December time, everything started to seem like it was going to get absolutely shut down again.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're in the situation that we don't want to cancel and reschedule just as much as the next guy. So if we get for April when it's kind of teetering on summer, the best bet is that everything is going to be fine by then, even though things are completely fine now. Well, things are still happening now anyway. But for us, it was like, that's going to be a safe bet. And we were originally, I think we were going for March, but then that was when the scheduling issues with all the venues being held up kind of pushed it to April. But yeah, I'm just happy we're getting to do summer.
I think you're probably quite safe for April. I can't speak for Leeds, but London is my city. The Black Heart is a venue. I was literally there last bloody week. I know it very, very well. So folks, man, if you go get us tickets, because I imagine this will be a sellout show. But
sure.
I think you're going to absolutely, well, I presume, guys, you know the Black Heart, yeah?
Yeah, we played there a couple of times.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a decent size, but it can get very, very hot and sweaty in there.
It's gonna be warm. It's gonna be warm.
What's the latest with the vinyls?
So the vinyls are due to. So what we actually we have some of the test presses now. We've had them for a while. We actually went back to get some changes on the side B of the test press. So that was not what they held up. It was just the vinyl kind of issues. But they are scheduled to be pressed in a week and a half's time. Okay. So we're actually going to get them like we hope, provided there's nothing else that goes wrong. Fingers crossed. COVID is a nightmare, but they're being pressed in the UK as well, which is super cool for like us because most vinyls now are pressed in Czech Republic and across Europe, and the fact that our first ever vinyl pressing, these are first pressings, they're going to be happening in the UK. distributed from the UK by us is like, yeah, super cool. Really, really excited about that.
Oh, well done. I'm so pleased. I was worried you were going to say, oh, it's stuck for the next 3 months or 6 and so on.
Dude, we started this process in July last year. So, you know, we were very aware of the delays. It was only actually because of, you know, obviously in the UK in December, everyone had COVID. So there was people just dropping. It was because of that, those short staff. So like everything just got pushed back a couple of weeks. So we were on track up until, I think it was like mid-January we kind of found out. But yeah, we're on it. I'm absolutely like a bloodhound, emailing all the time, like, where's my vinyls?
It does feel like a bit like a steam train with you guys at the moment. You know, all this conversation we've been having here for the last half an hour, plus obviously the album and the shows upcoming, that's now properly picking up speed. It feels like the momentum is so behind you, particularly coming off the back of, I still can't believe it's only been 4 days since the release of a simply spectacular album. I know I can't you can't tell me what like your long-term plans are, because who knows what they are. But I guess I want to ask you finally, is the plan in your head, is the hopeful plan just simply to smash the next 2022 and into 2023 as hard as possible and just take advantage of this album?
100%.
Yeah, literally. We just want to play as many shows as we can, go new places, go back to the same places, and make up for the time we've lost on the road, really. And we just really want to be out there as much as possible, and that's what we're looking forward to the most, is seeing everybody again, getting the feeling of playing shows, meeting fans, whatever, and drinking beers.
Yeah, 100% hoping this record is the one that kind of takes us off maybe like out of the smaller scene and kind of into the ranks of, some of the artists that we really look up to. So hopefully the chance to play with some of like our idols and stuff as well would be super cool. Also quite daunting. Like that's one of the things I've noticed as well with this album picking up a bit of traction. I'm like, oh shit, what if this person hears it and like, I really look up to this person and they're like, nah, it sucks. I'm gonna be like, no. That's just like me getting into a hole. But yeah, I was like, it's the first time I ever kind of experienced that, purely like you said, because it really does feel like for us as well that things are kind of starting to get a lot more attention than we're definitely used to, which is super, super exciting for us. Wake up in the morning, just looking at your phone, see what amazing things happened.
Vince, it's well deserved, and I wish you all the success over the next couple of months. I hope nothing derails. I hope everything goes the way it should do. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Thank you for talking to us, man. Thank you.
Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com, as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?